Okay, class, today we are going to make a foldable, and the foldable that we're going to make and notes that we're going to take are on operations with integers and absolute value. So let me show you. This is what we're going to make. We're going to make this particular foldable, and I'm going to walk you through it. The first thing you're going to need is a regular piece of paper, unlined, not notebook paper, but regular paper. You can get colored paper, whatever you would like. So the next two slides are maybe fuzzy, but hopefully they'll show you how to make a square out of a regular piece of paper. And if you already know how to do that, then you can kind of skip to the next section. And they're going to play this now.
Today we're going to make a foldable that looks like this, okay? So the way we start this is you take a sheet of paper, which is in there, and you're going to make a square. So to make a square, you're going to take one end, and you're going to fold it down here, make a crease, so make this even, and then you need to cut this off. Okay, so
Alright, so I apologize, that's kind of during the end of the day homeroom. So let's go. Okay.
cut off this bottom tab. I'll do it. Cut off the bottom tab.
That was
and now you should have a square. Alright, so the next thing you want to do is you want to take each vertex and fold it into the center. And once you do that, you will end up, right, with all of them, and you will end up with this.
Alright, so let's get started. Here is our foldable. First section, adding integers. So write this down on the outside flap, adding integers, and then open it up and let inside first. I'm sorry if this is kind of fuzzy, but these are the rules. The rules for adding integers: if you have the same sign, if both numbers have the same sign, like a negative plus a negative, then if the signs are the same, add and keep the sign. If you have different signs, that means the signs are different, like a negative plus a positive, then what you're going to do, if signs are different, subtract the numbers and take the sign of the bigger number. Subtract the numbers and take the sign of the bigger number. So write that down underneath the flap, and then some examples. So over on the left, and you might write this up there, this is same sign, and then so the same sign, a negative 4 plus a negative 2 gives me negative 6. A negative 2 plus a negative 8 gives me negative 10. You can do this with fractions. A negative 1/4 plus a negative 2/4, that gives me a negative 3/4. Now, different. If the signs are different, then what you're going to do is you're going to subtract the numbers and take the sign of the bigger number. So this is negative 1 plus a positive 3. You would do 3 minus 1. The 3 is bigger and it's positive, so your answer is 2. Then you have a negative 4 plus 2. Subtract 4 minus 2, and the negative is bigger, so your answer is negative 2. Here we can do this with a decimal. So we have negative 1.8 plus a positive 0.5. So you subtract 1.8 minus the 0.5, you get 1.3, and because the negative 1.8 is bigger, then you get a negative answer. Same thing with fractions. 1/5 plus negative 4/5. 4/5 minus 1/5 is 3/5, and it's negative because the bigger fraction was negative. Alright, have that in your notes and pause and when you need to, and we'll move on. Alright, so subtracting integers. So the next section is subtracting integers, so title that rule, and the rule, you can barely see it over there, rule, write this down. The rule is to add the opposite, or as we can call it, keep, change, change. So you're not going to subtract, you're going to add the opposite. An easier way to remember that is keep, change, change. We always keep, change, change when we subtract. In other words, we don't really subtract, we're just going to we're going to add the opposite and follow the rules of addition. So have that in your notes. Now I used red pen or red marker to change these. So the original one that I wrote down, here's our example, is 7 minus 8. And what I did here is I kept the first number, changed the subtraction to addition, and then changed the positive 8 to a negative 8. So 7 plus a negative 8 is negative 1. The next one I have over here is negative 7 minus 8. And again, I'm going to add the opposite. So I keep the first number. I change the subtraction to addition. See, that's what I did right here. And then I change the positive 8 to a negative 8. So now I have a negative 7 plus a negative 8. So I follow the rules of addition. A negative plus a negative makes more negative. And then the last one down here, I'll write it again. Negative 7 minus a negative 8. Alright, so again, keep the first number, change the subtraction to addition, and change the negative 8 to a positive 8. Follow the rules of addition. So now I have a negative 7 plus a positive 8. I subtract the numbers and get 1, and the 8 is bigger and it's positive. So have these in your notes. Alright, the next section is multiplying and dividing integers. You do the same rule for multiplying and dividing. Two rules. Sorry, if this is hard to see. The first rule is same signs. If the signs are the same of the numbers that you're multiplying or dividing, then the answer will always be positive. Same signs is a positive answer. Different signs. If the numbers have different signs, then the answer will be negative. It's pretty easy to multiply and divide. So let's look at some examples. Alright, some examples here that you want in your foldable. If they have the same sign examples, so multiplying a negative 5 times a negative 5 gives me a positive 25. Same sign as positive, remember that. If it's a positive 8 times a positive 8, you get positive 64. If you have, this is a negative, same sign. You have a negative 21 divided by a negative 3, that gives you a positive 7. This is also a division problem. Negative 100 divided by negative 10 gives me a positive 10. Let's go over here to different signs, different signs. I have a negative times a positive gives me a negative. Positive times a negative gives me a negative. And a positive divided by a negative gives me a negative. Negative divided by a positive gives me a negative. So write all of these down in your notes. Alright, the last section of our foldable is absolute value. This is red right here. Write this in your note on your flap. The absolute value, that's the symbol of a negative 5, is equal to 5. Let's open that up and let's the definition. Absolute value is the distance a number is from 0 on a number line. So absolute value will always be positive. So you might want to write that in there too. It's always positive. Distance is positive. So write these examples down. The absolute value of a 5 is 5. The absolute value of a negative 5 is 5. Here the absolute value of a negative 2 is 2. And you can even do fractions and decimals. So an absolute value of a negative 1/2 would be 1/2. Underneath your flap, go ahead and draw. This is where the flap is, right here. Draw a number line so we can see it. So we have a number line showing negative 5 and 5. Both of these numbers are 5 units from 0. So the absolute value of a negative 5 and a 5 is 5 because that's what absolute value means. Okay, hopefully you have this done, and then what you're going to do is nice foldable, and you're going to glue it, tape it into your notebook, and then make sure you put that in your table of contents. And next we'll have ask me about a worksheet because we'll have to practice. Okay? Have a great day.